Hi, everybody. Thank you for waiting. Wow, there's already so many of you online. Okay, we've got Raelius from the UK. We've got Kathy from Queensland. We've got Rambona from New Jersey. Zaphod from South Wales. Michael J from Texas. Isaac Catlife from Ohio. And Chris Z. Halo from California. Wow. So really international audience today. Although I am fashionably late to my own book launch, I might just give people a couple more minutes. Hello from Arizona, from A. Eligos. We'll just give people a couple more minutes to come in and then make a start. Hello from Brazil. Afternoon from New Zealand. It is just about lunchtime here. All right. So there's a lot of ground to cover. Well, I'll be focusing on just the main things that people need to know about this book. Oh, Frada RC is here. Thank you, Frada. It's good to see you here. All right, they're coming in thick and fast. I'm not going to be able to stay on top of everyone who's coming in, but greetings to you all, and thank you for being here. I might give it one more minute and then make a start. Yes, lux in re, indeed. The light of the cross. All right, so we're just about there. You know what will be cool? If I wait for us to have an angel number and start then. But definitely very, very relieved to be finally presenting this after so many years of holding on to it. See, if I wait for an angel number, then it's destiny and it's meant to be. And it's just a bit more spiritual, isn't it? I meant 11:11 my time, which it is now. So let's get started. Hello to you all. And yeah, I will explain my visionary interpretations, Renaissance man, and the visions. But I think the way that I'll run today is the Tucker stream. Oh my God, I'm sorry, Friday RC, that you had to go through that. So the way that I'll run today is I will just introduce the book to you and introduce some of the key ideas that it's going to cover and some of the story of its reception. And then there's going to be time after that for questions and answers. So I'll ask you to wait until then to ask me whatever questions you have. Thank you all for your congratulations coming in. So the time has finally come. After years of preparation, that which is concealed or has been concealed is finally revealed. And that is the Book of Heavenly Voices, or Voces Caelesti. This is what it looks like. Oh, at least this is the proof. So there's a bit there that you can't quite see. But as you can see, it's quite a volume. And actually, I maxed out the number of pages that I was allowed to use on self-publishing. So there's a lot of information in there, but a lot of that is down to formatting. Like there's one verse per paragraph in a lot of places, and they're numbered for ease of reference. But there's a lot of content covered in this book. It is the culmination of, well, really over a decade of spiritual work. My working to attain knowledge and conversation with the Holy Guardian Angel, my various Enochian magical workings, chief among them the Jebethel ritual. And yeah, thank you all of you for your compliments. Yeah, and it covers a lot of topics. It's very deep, a very comprehensive book. And yeah, so I think to begin with, I will just talk about the time that we find ourselves in now and why it's necessary for this book to come into the world at all. What was the reason why the angels spoke to me and gave me this important task of presenting a new book of knowledge to the world? Well, as I'm sure everybody has noticed by now, civilization is in quite dire straits at the moment. We seem to be going through a decline. And a lot of the things that we took for granted in the past as things which offered us meaning, things which offered us a vision of higher principles that we can build a civilization around, have been eroded, in some cases quite deliberately. But there is a bit of a natural process of cycles that civilization goes through. And the reason, and other spiritual traditions talk about this as well. For example, I believe it's the Bhagavad Gita talks about how from time to time righteousness fades from the world and unrighteousness increases, and it is necessary to restore Dharma to the world. And that's just that tradition's understanding of these cycles that civilization goes through. And so we are definitely in a time of unrighteousness. I think that is undeniable now. And we are at a time where the old ways of understanding the divine are on the decline. And although we have had a revival in Christian belief in more recent years, over the long term, those old ways of understanding spirituality are going to disappear. So we need something new, and a new understanding of how we can relate to the divine that is appropriate for our own times and appropriate for what we know to be true now, without becoming like postmodern or deconstructionist or anything like that. It's still about grounding something in higher values and taking inspiration from the past. But now things are developing in a new direction, in much the same way as Vedic religion became Hinduism, in much the same way as Second Temple Judaism had to become Rabbinical Judaism when the temple was destroyed, and in fact, early Christianity. So there is a process of evolution of belief that we go through, and this book continues that process. It may not be the only one in this time in human history, but is certainly an example of that. It seeks to restore our relationship with the divine in a way that is appropriate to our own times, so that we can start to eventually reverse the civilizational decline, or perhaps create something new before everything else around us collapses in on itself, because it's no longer fit for purpose. So that is the ambition of this book. And so it sets forth a new way of understanding not only how to relate to the divine within ourselves and in the universe, but also how we can apply our connection to the divine and use that to not only reorganize our inner life, but understand how society should function for the benefit of all people, and what higher principles we should be aligning to in order to do that. So that's a very ambitious work. And it is, of course, a revealed text. So this isn't something that I came up with by just thinking about things a lot. I went into these rituals, I contacted divine beings, angelic beings, and they gave me messages and I wrote them down. Some of them were direct revelation, some of them were just inspiration. So when I spoke with my holy guardian angel, I had a thought and then I put that into my own words when I wrote it down. Whereas with the Jebathol ritual, the specific wording came through as well. So there's a few different ways that it came. But over the years, I've received this corpus of knowledge. And I want to also just talk a little bit about the process of revelation and that, because in these modern times, because we have lost sight of the existing understanding of how connection with the divine is important, we think that it's all superstition, it's all rubbish. Revealed knowledge is just someone's imagination, and it's not based in empirically proven evidence, which is the only way that we can know anything, through some kind of rigorous academic process of logical questioning and investigation. Whereas in fact, if you look at history, that's really downplaying the importance of revelation, because Mendeleev received the periodic table of the elements through revelation. Mozart received music through revelation. Crick received the double helix of the DNA molecule through revelation. So it's always been a feature of the human experience and the human pursuit of new knowledge. The only thing that sets apart the contents of the Voces Caelesti from those other people is that the subject matter is explicitly spiritual. And I want to be clear as well that just because I'm talking about something that is divinely revealed, I'm not saying that this book is infallible, that it's the one absolute truth for all time. The true process of divine revelation is a lot more messy than that. And it's not like a channel going one way. It's much more of like a dialogue between a human being and the divine. And so inevitably, it's going to be colored in some way by the times and the what is within the understanding of a person who embodies a particular point in human history. And, because the divine needs to meet us where we are. So this book does not claim to be the absolute truth for all time and all peoples, but it does claim to penetrate deeper into the mysteries of the world than ordinary human knowledge can do, and give us results that are going to help us, give us knowledge that's going to help us in the times that we're in now. And so that's a very different understanding of the role of divinely inspired writing that we have from, say, one of the monotheistic religions, a lot less rigid and fundamentalist. So I've explained a little bit about how this book came to me, conversing with angels and them giving me messages for this particular point in time. And so now I might just talk about the contents of the book, because that's the thing that's really important for people to know. And in order to do that, I'm going to read an introduction that I wrote for some of the subject matters of the book, and which also talks about how this book is needed in our time. So I'm going to read that portion of the introduction now to give you a better idea of what we're dealing with here. So Matthew Brown's here. Welcome, Matthew. It's great to see you here. You've come in just in time for the good bit. So this book it's got revelation in it as well as commentary. Some of the commentary appears as footnotes to the revelation, the revealed material, but there's also an appendix of long commentaries for some of the bits of the book that require a little bit more explanation, like some of the stuff about the nature of the divine. No surprises there. So I'll go ahead and read that part of the introduction now. I have done my best to group the revelations together in an order that flows well, conveys the greater overarching themes of each division of the book, and weaves all of the different ideas together into an ordered and concise spiritual philosophy. The Voces Caelesti is divided into 8 divisions. Theology offers a description of the divine that is brought forth and governs existence. Anthropology covers the origins of humanity and our natural inclination to seek spirituality. The idol reveals how humanity became oppressed by false religion. Aeonics describes the successive ages of humanity and the themes of the coming age. Spiritual liberation outlines the practices we may undertake to unite with the divine. Struggle counsels us on how to resist oppression in a way that aligns with divine values. Values recommends virtues. It also reveals the origins of morality in the law of love, which we participate in at the level of the human soul. The covenant calls us to form a new holy community that can restore the soul of society with the ultimate end of changing the world in the image of the kingdom of heaven. Some divisions of the book are easier and more pleasing to read than others. I must caution that there are parts of the division called divinity which are highly abstract and difficult to read at times. But if the reader can persevere through those more challenging verses, they will be greatly rewarded when they read the verses that follow in the remainder of this book of the heavenly voices. Upon first reading some ideas, you may not grasp them immediately. This would not be unexpected. The Voces Caelesti is a book designed to be studied, not simply read. It is my sincere hope that in its pages you will find the answers you seek, that a conviction may be kindled in you that there is a spiritual answer to the great problems of the world, and that there is a spiritual knowledge that can restore humanity in its time of great troubles. When a critical mass among humanity has accepted that knowledge, then we may pick ourselves up and stride into the golden age of the future, when all our present tribulations have been overcome and we are a species at peace with ourselves, with knowledge of ourselves and the knowledge of God. There are many people in the world presently who are crying out for a message that can show the way to that future world. There are many such people alive today who feel there is something wrong with the way the world currently is, who feel there must be more to life. If you have opened this book under whatever circumstances, there is a high chance you are such a person. At a time when many despair that things are spiraling out of control and humanity is on the brink of extinction, I bring a defiant message of hope. By the grace of the divine and against all odds, the future will be glorious. We only need the storm clouds of the present era of turmoil to clear. If you could only see the future, you would wake up every day rejoicing. What a privilege it is to be in the generation whose deeds will usher in that world. This book is for all you who would answer that calling. May this book quench your spiritual thirst. If you're inspired by the words that are contained therein, I invite you to join me in the great challenge that lies ahead, for whosoever among the human race is noble enough in spirit to take it up. That great task is none other than the task of restoring the world. And so here it is now. And around Easter, I began the process of preparation to reveal this book to the world, and now it is revealed. Snip, there's the red tape. The official opening has been completed. Thanks, RC. And I just want to say that all of the Ophonym badges, I designed that particular badge long before Representative Anna Paulina Luna made it cool. So that's a lot to digest. I think what I'll do now, I'm happy to talk a little bit more about the story of how I built up a relationship with the angels and different ways that different things came to me that made their way into the book. I'm also happy to talk about its contents if people have questions about that. I'm happy to do some kind of bibliomancy, to open it to a random page and see what it says for us. So those are some of the options. Thank you to those of you who have already bought a copy. Just one thing that I'll flag with that, which is kind of annoying. There was a bit of a stuff up with Amazon with the hardcover copy of the book. That's not yet available. However, the paperback copy is available. So if you want to wait for a hardcover, it'll probably be a few days before that happens. But feel free to buy both, because these are going to be first editions of a book that I hope will go down at least in occult history. So it's going to be a collector's item. So yeah, I've included a link in the description below, I believe, for this video. Otherwise, if you Google Voces, Caelesti, Amazon, it will hopefully pop up. And if anyone has issues with that, let me know. Okay, so do we have any questions? Oh, there's a question here about online versions. There's not an ebook version of this at the moment. It is purely hard copies, but you know, it's easy to absorb information looking at a piece of paper versus a screen anyway. It is available in a hard copy in Brazil though, but you know, you'll be able to read it without upsetting your circadian rhythms. But that's not to say it won't be an ebook in the future. But for now, I think the reception of it has to be from paper. The reception of that knowledge. All right, so just seeing if there's any questions or comments here that I need to answer. Thank you to all of you for the supportive comments. All right. Let's have a look. Unfortunately, pre-ordering is not an option on Amazon self-publishing. Otherwise, I would have set it up a long time ago. But yeah, so that's a bit of a thing as well. But you can order it from now anyway. Audiobook, yeah, possibly one day. I don't know that I would be the one that narrates it necessarily. Perhaps somebody else will do that. We'll see. All right, so do we have any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to do a bibliomancy. Shall we do it? All right. I'm going to try and avoid hitting the long commentary, because that's not as well. It's not divinely inspired, so it's not as deep or meaningful as the other parts of the text. Okay, keep going. Okay, oh, that's interesting. All right, so it's taken me to the division of the book that is known as Aeonics. Aeonics deals with two different types of aeon. The first part is about aeons of time and the different ages that humanity has moved through. And but then at the very end, it's got it deals with aeons in terms of the domains of what might be considered the afterlife, at least in a symbolic sense. And so it's describing mysteries of life and death. And so the bit that I opened to here is called the Enunciation of the Psychopomp. So this is all about knowledge and the relationship between knowledge and the afterlife. And the reason why this came through in this way is because I was working with one of the angels of the Heptarchia, or several of them, the angels of Mercury. And Mercury is traditionally associated with knowledge, but is also in the heptarchic system a way of seeing what's beneath the earth, which has connotations of the world of the dead as well. And so this is drawing a connection between knowledge and life and death, and moving between those, with the angel of Mercury being presented in the role of a psychopomp. So this is what it says. It is I who bring knowledge, and I who deliver unto death. For the greatest of knowledge is wrought from the places of the dead. Just as precious metals must first be unearthed, so too it is with my knowledge. All that dwells in silvery waters guarded by my arthropoid denizens is of me. I who bring forth nourishment from that which is not nourished. I who give life through that which is dead. Knowledge comes at a price, for knowledge is itself dead. An idea written down can no longer change, but is frozen in time. The paper upon which it is writ must be crafted from the dead tree. To eat of the tree of knowledge is to invite death. Because all knowledge is dead, it must come back to me. Yet also by its preservation does knowledge live on. And as fickle as the mercurial fluid is, so is the effect of knowledge changeable. Just as it takes life away, it can also give it back. Knowledge is only dead when it is found wanting, dead in itself, but alive when it is applied. All hail the psychopomp. I will deliver to you the serpent. By and by it has devoured the dying and destitute sun. Now by my command it ascends to the earth, and the new light darts from its mouth like a forked tongue, announcing a new dawn to come. Hark, it is the brazen serpent. I shall lift it up and lead you to salvation. So very much about knowledge there. A lot to think about in terms of the meanings and the connotations there. But we think about knowledge, and it can freeze things in time, and it can, in that sense, stop life, but it can also renew life, and particularly spiritual knowledge can bring in renewal to a life that is destitute of meaning. So it is very much something which can take us between life and death. Thank you, RC, for the memberships. Which workings reveal which passages? I don't I don't cover that in the book, because it kind of would interfere with the order that the messages are in that best convey the core concepts in a certain order. But that is something that perhaps I'll explain in more detail at a later date. Okay, so we've got messages. Any messages from a Borimon? Yes. I'll get back to that. I'll just first answer this question from Jake. How's your relationship with the Holy Guardian Angel changed over the course of writing this book? How did it help you? Well, most of the Holy Guardian Angel messages were received by me during my working to attain knowledge and conversation. So part of the process of me getting to know the angel more and more intimately was some of these messages being revealed, particularly the the division of the book that is called Spiritual Liberation is really all about it, describing knowledge and conversation and what it feels like to unite with the divine, and how that can bring us absolute freedom in a way that nothing in the world can. In terms of Aborimon's message, as you can imagine, since Aborimon is an angel of destruction, there was a lot in there about how the present world. Well, I might just talk about the metaphor that Aborimon gave me. So here in Australia, we have a part of the natural cycle for a lot of our bushland where when it becomes too dry and too dead, we get bushfires, and the fire sweeps through and destroys entire swaths of bushland. But it's necessary for that to happen, for the cycle of life to continue. For example, there is a plant called the banksia, which actually depends on the heat from the fire to open up its seed pods so it can drop its seeds and be planted in the ground that is fertilized by the ash of the burnt forest around it. And so it's a phoenix-like plant in that it is reborn through the fire. And that's kind of what we have to be in this period of human history, because the fire is coming. And as Bibliomancy said, humanity has shunned the purifying waters, and we have laid the kindling, which means we have been the architects. Through our wickedness, we have become the architects of the demise of the present state of things, because it's based on disorder and is out of harmony with divine principles. And we have refused any help in terms of hearkening back to divine wisdom that could save the old ways. So that's heavy, but that's what Bibliomancy said to me. Can you hold up the book? Yes, I'm happy to do that. Here it is. This symbol, by the way, which you can't see because this thing's in the way. I'll see if I can find it in the book itself. This was actually a symbol that was revealed to me as well. So in one of my visions from the Jebufel ritual, this symbol appeared in front of me very clearly. And I was told that this is the symbol of humanity. Okay, I can't find it right now. But so basically what that's meant to be, it's meant to have another line there. So it's like a double ankh, but it's very reminiscent of the human form. And when I say the symbol of humanity, this isn't like certain other spiritual traditions where some people are more human than others. It's all of us. It's the symbol of all of us. And the fact that that is the symbol that is on the cover demonstrates that we are united in the fact that we are human. We are united in the fact that we have soul. And no person has more of a soul than another. And the thing that makes us spiritual, the thing that gives us our connection to the divine, is something that is innate. It's not something that's given to us by the delivery of some special message from on high. So that's the symbol. There it is. The symbol of humanity, a new spiritual symbol. And really, this book is the story of humanity. It is the story of what we were always destined to be, but have been held back from. In the form of ignorance, in the form of our own ego identification, yes, but also deliberately by oppressive institutions and structures which were put in place to keep us ignorant, to keep us afraid, both religious and political structures. And acknowledging that is every bit as important as the inner work that we need to do to find the divine within. Does this have anything to do with the current disclosure movement? I don't know. I mean, people are talking about how this is a time when new knowledge is revealed. So perhaps it's related in that sense. But it's not. this book is not about extra-dimensional beings, although arguably they were the ones that gave me the communications. It's really about us and our own self-determination. And that remains to be the case regardless of whether such beings even exist and whether their existence is disclosed to us. This book would have worked just as well as if it was my own superconscious that revealed it and not the angels. However, I have come to the conclusion that very literal divine beings are the ones that have given me these communications. And the disclosure movement is one of the things that helped me to understand that that's what was actually happening. Josh says, do the angels interact with humanity when they see fit, or only when one does the proper ritual? Well, it can be both. So there can be spontaneous communications, but there is a long history going all the way back into ancient times where people would do practices to deliberately contact angels and get messages from them. So, you've got, of course, the Enochian magical system, which seeks to do that. Other forms of angelic magic from the Western esoteric tradition, which ultimately have their roots in the Kabbalah and Merkava mysticism. You had the other forms of cosmic ascent that the Gnostics engaged in to receive knowledge or divine knowledge through direct experience, which is very much in the ballpark of what's happening here. So it can go one of either ways. And if you've reached a point in your life where you are doing rituals to contact angelic beings, there's probably a good chance that an invisible hand has directed your destiny so you can get to that point. But that is a whole other can of worms. But that's just something that I've been thinking about recently. Because all of the things that led me to the practices that would allow me to receive this book were not things that I chose. They were things that came to me in the form of dreams, mostly in the beginning. Okay, so what does page 111 say? And then I'll answer the next question. Page, oh my God. So I had a members only YouTube live stream before this, and a member asked me a question to do with practices recommended by the book, and I then did a bibliomancy. I don't think that the angels were very happy with how I answered the question. So then I did a bibliomancy, and I got the exact part of the book that recommends the practices you must do. And 111 is that page again. So message received. Clearly, this is something I need to draw people's attention to more than anything else. I'll come back to that for sure. RC asks, what spirit most influenced the book? Well, in terms of which spirit individually contributed the most revelations or inspiration in this case, it's certainly my holy guardian angel. But in terms of the topics, yeah, probably my holy guardian angel for directing me towards certain topics as well. But there was a lot that was contributed by the angels of the various ethers, not only ethers, but the other levels of the heaven opened by the other Enochian calls during the Jebethol ritual. That material was quite foundational, and some of my later angelic workings were to extrapolate upon information that I received from that. and in some cases, the holy guardian angel as well. So liquid nitrogen, I already love Jesus and Mary. And Mary Magdalene as well, actually. I don't just defame her as a sinful woman, like certain denominations of Christianity do. So I respect the divine feminine as fully as it should be respected. Let's see, did I experience any attacks during my exploration for the knowledge from either human or non-human entities? Interesting question. I have experienced psychic attacks, but I more experienced them as a result of my own personal journey of spiritual development, which was needed for me to be in a position to present this to you today. But yeah, that's kind of when the psychic attacks happened. So let's see. Gateway, how can we reconcile the gateway process, contact, linking with knowledge and awakening? I'm not sure that's directly relevant to what we're talking about today, but it's an interesting question. No message from Metatron in this book, but I did have a video where I did a live ritual invoking Metatron and receiving a message. Oh, actually, that's not entirely true. Now that I think of it, because I did, when I opened so in the Jebethel ritual, there's 49 gates, but the final gate had never been opened and wasn't supposed to be opened until, well, the times we're living in now. And so, and that level deals with the Christ, as Christ pre-existed the world, as well as being incarnated and all of that. And I had to re-enter that level when I was ready. And when I did, I received information about the Christ. And that being, as it turns out, is in some sense can be regarded as the same as the angel Metatron. So the teaching that I was given combined a few different ideas together. It combined Jesus with the Christ as like a spiritual being that Jesus becomes when he ascends. And it combined that with the Son of Man, which of course is biblically it conforms with what the Bible says, and connected the Son of Man with Enoch and Metatron, which again is backed up by the books of Enoch. And Enoch was, of course, somebody who ascended into heaven as well and was transformed. And then it connects that concept further of the Son of Man, of the second power in heaven, of the Christ sitting at the right hand, with the collective human soul that has been purified and become divine again, and connected that with the spirit of humanity, and the holy guardian angel, in fact, as another representation of the inner Christ. So, in fact, I did receive a message from Metatron. If you draw the book's teachings to their logical conclusion, so a lot of new insights into spiritual symbols that are on offer here, and so you're getting a sample of that today. Let's see. It can be regarded as a return to Eden, yes, because we once again become the Adam Kadmon, the primordial human being, and Christ was the second Adam. because he created a new humanity through him completing his process. And so we can participate in that state if we follow his example and we reunite with the same level of being as well. That's another teaching of the book. Let's have a look. Do the ancient deities have any role in this and what's to come? Not really. Some of the ancient deities are used as a metaphor to highlight a certain aspect of the divine principle, but they're understood in that sense rather than as literal beings. So, for example, Pan is used as a metaphor for the physical universe. Let's have a look. What do you think of the rosary? I think it's great. I think that people should pray it if they feel so inclined. And it's a great way of knowing if you're demonically possessed, or if there's demons in your vicinity, if there's people that are demonically possessed in your vicinity, because the demons cannot stand the rosary and they will flee if you start to recite the Hail Mary. So that's a good one for spiritual self-defense as well, actually. Let's have a look. Okay. So that's pretty much what I can answer here from what I've seen so far. I might just share a couple more stories to do with the reception of the book. So you're probably wondering about the cover. This is what it looks like, and then on the back as well, this is a quote that kind of encapsulates the spirit of the book. Enter therefore the kingdom in the heavens. If you learn its secrets and are trained in its subtleties, then you may take what you have learnt and establish it as a standard among others. Then shall that same celestial kingdom be among you. So the inspiration, and they've given it away, the inspiration for this cover was also revealed. So I asked, my wife actually wanted to design a cover for me, but wasn't sure, wanted some guidance on that. So we did a angelic scrying session together to ask an angel what the appropriate cover design was, and we both got little pieces which kind of tell a story of a design that was appropriate. So I saw a royal purple color overlaid with gold, and the symbol of humanity in a diamond formation on the front. And my wife was staring into the scrying stone and felt, and then closed her eyes and felt drawn in to the crystal, and saw crystal all around her, like in an immersive way, and felt strongly that should feature on the cover as well. So we sort of combined those ideas and came up with the cover that you see before you. And I was guided to include this quote on the back. So that is the story of the cover. And we did a second scrying ritual together with the Enochian tools when it was time for me to ask the angels if the book was now ready for publication. And I was given an answer in the affirmative. And to top it all off, at the very end of that process, I said, it's finished. And then I saw, it's the first time this has happened in a ritual, I physically saw some kind of apparition in the to my left above me. It was like a very quick, like, of light, like a little a little kind of filament of light, or almost like a little flame kind of flickering around, but it was like pure white light. And my wife, who was looking into the obsidian mirror behind, sort of to my left and slightly behind me, saw it in the mirror. So we both independently corroborated an apparition of one of these beings. So that was a beautiful confirmation that that they approve of the book as it is presented to you now. How many years did it take to write? Over a decade. So the psalmic working that I did to get the bulk of the Holy Guardian Angel communications was in 2013. And then there was several years that it took to organize the information. The Jebethel ritual was 2014-15, and then several years again to organize the information. And then a bunch of heptarchia workings, calling forth a Borimon, re-entering the missing gate. All of that, some other Holy Guardian Angel workings, and then reorganizing everything and writing a commentary to explain the bits that still were a bit esoteric. So years of work, which the culmination of which you see before you now. And I still can't believe it's here. So I'm very, very happy with that. And I'm glad that I've got to explain some of the core teachings here. I hope it's given you a flavor of the kinds of things that it talks about. Yeah, get in, loser, the kingdom of heaven is at hand, indeed. Indeed. And perhaps it's been arriving this entire time. And it just needs a little bit of an extra kick to get it over the line. So what I think I'll do is I'll read page 111, because something is really, really directing me to let people know about that particular part of the book. So yes, God willing, we are that kick. Yes, God willing. If not us, then who? Maybe there'll be other people that participate in that change, but we can certainly be a part of it. And the point is, somebody has to be the spearhead. Somebody has to be the first one to charge the enemy line. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So let's do it. So I'm going to read page 111 because I have to, apparently. I have to. So basically, this part, I'll just take a sip of coffee. Anything from Michael? No, not from Michael. But Michael is one of my guides. He's actually my confirmation saint. So I've got a very special relationship with Michael. And that's why, yeah, he's with, I'm sure that he's with me now. Very powerful presence in my life. And as I undertake this work as well. All right, so page 111. 1101, 101, there you go. 111, angel number. Okay, the 3 liberating practices and the discovery of will. Here then is the great quest of humanity. The goal of all you do lies in liberation. And the goal of all liberation is spiritual liberation. What is the eggshell? It serves only to incubate the growing life form. Yet upon further growth, the shell is broken and the living thing emerges. Thus has it become what it was truly meant to be. Physical life is but a shell. It is necessary for the shell to encase you, else you could not grow. Yet growth must one day reach such a measure that you are bound by the shell no longer. Yet the way by which the hatching might occur now be revealed. The only thing that is truly free is the divine. The essential nature of the divine is in all things. There is a divine nature to your own being. To find the divine nature is to be free. To seek the divine nature is to be free also, for in the divine there can be no beginning and no end. To venture onto the path of freedom, it is only necessary to step away from the finite and toward the infinite. To seek your divine nature is to carry out an excavation. There are many layers of the self you must penetrate before gold is struck. To reach each layer, it is necessary to dig through the layer that is before it. In digging up the first layer, simply ask yourself, what do I want? Then dig further still by asking, what do I need? Then unearth still another layer by asking, what do I will? For will is the foundation of the other two. Remember this well, for there can be a want that is not a need, and a need that is not willed. Yet will does not cease to exist while these other layers persist. It simply remains buried. What shall be the tools by which will is excavated? It is in the spiritual practices. These are magic, meditation, and divination. Magic is as a great magnet which agitates the will and draws it out from the dross of earth. Divination is the tool by which the will is detected beneath the earth. Meditation is the drill that tears away every other layer, leaving pure will exposed. These first two make it easier to reach the will, yet it is the third by which the most important work is done. Here is another mystery, that gold is simply a more refined form of the same mineral that is in all the earth which surrounds it. Therefore, in every desire might that will be recognized and distilled. And that is the path in about as much of a summary as is possible to give, according to this book, which is probably why I keep being directed to it, because that is the most important thing, right? It's our own inner process of spiritual liberation and discovering that for ourselves. We can have knowledge into any other thing out there. We can rearrange the world in any other way, even mindfully, but without that inner experience and knowing how to win that, the rest is meaningless. That has to be the fulcrum around which everything else turns. So once again, the angels have demonstrated that they know better than me as to what I should be saying to everyone. And yeah, do people have any other questions or anything like that? I was planning to go for an hour. We can go longer if people want, but it's probably getting late for a lot of you. Okay, Banksia asks, was there anything that was confronting for you when you received it? Okay, that's a good question. Occultology is in the chat. Welcome. And yeah, Michael is solid. So was there anything that was confronting for me when I received it? Yes, there was. The information from a Borimon was definitely confronting, because when you're talking to an angel, what you really hope for is like love and light and like nice things that make you feel good. And that did happen a lot. Don't get me wrong. Very comforting presence and very loving presence to be in the presence of that. And the knowledge that was given was very therapeutic. But sometimes the messenger delivers a message of judgment of the wicked. So that was difficult to hear. And perhaps one of the most difficult things for me to hear from that particular revelation was that there are certain people who just refuse to be saved and don't want redemption and will run out of chances. That was quite sobering. And then another thing that was quite confronting was, I believe it was one of the angels of Jupiter when I was doing the Heptarchia workings. They gave me a moral teaching, and it wasn't what I wanted to hear. So they were basically saying, the ends don't justify the means. If you think that you're in the right and you're in a conflict and you want your side to win so that things are better, the ends don't justify the means, that you need to retain the moral high ground always, and it's not negotiable. If you claim to be virtuous and you stoop to the level of the people that you're criticizing, then you're no better than them, no matter what you think you're achieving. And at the time, because I was very left-wing as well back then, at the time I resisted that really strongly, and actually argued with the angel in the vision. But over time, just like when your parents tell you not to do something and you finally understand why you shouldn't do it years down the track, I understood that teaching was actually correct. So the angels have transformed my moral character as a result of me communicating with them. Oh, here we go. What does salvation look like in your view? Before I go into that, when you talk about people who don't want redemption and will run out of chances, are these the ruling elites? Yes, those are among the people that I think will probably not only run out of chances, I think that they've already run out of chances. Jesus says that whoever causes harm to my little ones, may that person have a fate that is worse than having a millstone put around their neck and them thrown in the ocean. So absolutely, the elites, they're already screwed in the eyes of the divine and have been for a long time. But, I think that the overall thrust of the message was there's, people can deny redemption again and again and again. They can refuse to repent, but then a time comes along when, and they're given lots of chances, and eventually they do say, I'm ready to repent. And I was in that. Yes, it would be better if I was paraphrasing there, but yes, it would be better. Yeah, I mean, I was very stubborn when I was young, but eventually I repented. But some people will never take that step, and it's just they're so calcified that unfortunately they're just they're never going to make it. That was kind of what it was saying. But we should still give people as many chances as we can in the meantime. But yeah. But it gets to a point where the other person's going to drag you down with them if you try and take them on board and they have no intention of actually being good to you or to others. Sometimes people need to be, how people behave will attract the kinds of situations that they find themselves in. Sarah asks, what's on page 222? Oh, the salvation question. I'll go back to that because that's important. Got distracted by those awful devil worshippers, the elites, or as people have rightfully called them, the parasites. So salvation, that's a good question, and that's actually something that's dealt with in the book. I just happen to have an answer right here in the book. No. So one point that it makes is spiritual salvation. It's not about seeing human beings as indelibly flawed or broken in some way and needing someone to come along to fix them and save them in that sense. It's, although we do need to kind of dispel the illusion in our being, what's happening is not so much that the world is wrong and it's being corrected from somebody introducing something new from the outside, but what's happening is we are recognizing the true nature of things again. So we have this perception that everything is broken and needs to be fixed because we have a broken perception of reality. And the way to do that is not through some narrative that's going to correct the brokenness, but still lives in that world of duality and conflict and imperfection, but rather to just undertake the third option, which is to return to the stillness. And sometimes salvation does follow a narrative, but to be salvation, it has to be a return to that inner stillness, that inner knowing of divinity. That really is the thing that saves us. And that really is the true nature of the universe, is that peaceful harmony. If you look out at the universe, there's not wars and inequality and all of that sort of thing, all that violence. There's just the beauty and symmetry and order of creation and the peaceful stillness of space. It's when you zoom in to the human condition that you see all of that imperfection. And so we need to reorient towards the divine perfection and see everything else as just ripples on a lake's surface. That's the terminology, that's the metaphor that is used in the Voces Caelesti. So rather than creating another wave to clash with the other wave, we need to still the pond. So let's have a look. False light entities. Sam Witch says, how do I build discernment? And talks about false light entities, finite light posing as infinite light. I've done a whole video on that, how to distinguish true and false revelation. So check that out for more. But basically, there is a process of discernment that needs to happen, and it can take some training to know how to do that. I have spent years combing through these revelations to identify things that might not be completely legitimately from the angels. So there's been a very, very long and thorough vetting process of me looking at these revelations before I present them to the public. Zohar Zen says, I love how everything is centered around Jesus. I mean, yeah, in a sense it is, yeah. But Jesus was pointing us towards something else. He was pointing us towards a more spiritual idea that he was the mere representation or embodiment of, which is something that is universal to the human race and can be achieved by the entire human race if they choose it. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments. James asks, humanity will uneat the apple. So, so that opens a bit of a can of worms, because another thing that the book says is that we have misunderstood the doctrine of sin. So again, we are not broken. We're not born with some stain or flaw on our nature that can only be removed by some kind of church or something. That's how we have misunderstood the doctrine of sin, and we've turned it into a thing that is about shame as well, which is another misinterpretation and actually only adds negativity to what we already carry, and so it actually reinforces our fallen nature, ironically. But basically, the fall was a fall into ignorance. It wasn't that we became imperfect and we have this indelible stain. We just forgot who we are. And that which we truly are cannot ever be corrupted or can never fall. And that's the thing that we have to rediscover within, the divine within. Song Fantasy says, would you consider the book channeled material? Yes. Okay, Lauren Miller has made a good comment here. Augustine came up with the idea of original sin. The Greek word for sin in the New Testament is hamartia, which is an archery term which means missing the mark. Precisely. That's precisely correct. And if you're an archer and you miss the mark, or if you're playing darts and you don't quite hit the center, you don't say, oh, I'm filthy, I'm awful, I deserve to burn in hell for all eternity, do you? You just acknowledge, okay, I didn't quite make it. I need to adjust something about my behavior and then try again. And then the next time, maybe I'll hit the mark. And don't beat yourself up too much about not hitting the center, because most of the time we don't, because we are complex creatures and there's a lot of competing drives that we have to contend with. And the process of discipline and self-refinement is a lifelong process that never ends. Yeah, occultology says to sin is to not get the point. And another thing that I just want to touch upon from Lauren Miller's comment. So you mentioned the New Testament and Scripture as being the place which is largely considered to be revealed knowledge as well. Scripture is the place where we're given sin as an idea, which means something very different if you read the original Greek. And then Augustine comes along, who represents the religious institution and the bureaucracy that forms around belief, something very human-made and serving the interests of human power. And he interprets the doctrine another way. So the way that the false doctrine of sin that we have is not revealed. It is something that has been corrupted by the institutions of human power, which is what the church was by that stage. And there's a whole part of the book, there's a whole division of the book called the Idol, which explains, I'm talking about the Voces Caelesti now, there's a whole division of that book which explains how true spirituality based on authentic divine revelation deteriorates into false spirituality, which is used to oppress people because it becomes co-opted by power and reinterpreted by power, and it becomes an instrument of power. And then here's another comment from James Bray, 3100. Repent came from metanoia. It means learn, not self-harm. Precisely. Just remove the shame from it. If you're trying to elevate your state away from the negativity of the world, why would you add to that negativity? Why would you see that as something that is spiritual in some way? You know, we're all ignorant. It's not our fault. It's nothing to be ashamed of, and we do need to learn. And when we repent, we have learned, but unfortunately, some people never learn. Okay, we've been going for an hour and 14 minutes now. So I'm inclined to wrap this up. I might take 1, 2, 3 final questions if people have them. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this thing up. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Oh, I remembered actually. 222, page 222. I was going to look at that. So that can be our last question. Okay. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm getting to that now. So, oh, goodness me. So, Sarah, the page that you have chosen is actually one of the diagrams in the book. It's this one here. It is a diagram of the human soul. There's actually a couple of diagrams there. Looks a little bit like the one on this side looks a bit like a crop circle, actually, now that I think of it. So this is the one on 222. So this is the different parts of the human being, very similar to the parts of the soul of Kabbalah, very similar to the 5 sheaths in yoga. And what this shows us is that we, at different levels of being, that people have different parts to themselves. So I wonder if there's a verse that explains it. Okay, so basically, I'll just go ahead and start explaining it. So these are the different levels to our being that there is. Well, we have the divinity within up here somewhere, and then these are the it's really related to consciousness. But what happens is we have compassion as the first vessel of the divine within us. So basically our ability for compassion, unconditional love. And then beneath that, we've got our valuing mind, which gives us our values, things that we consider to be right, which we need to properly use the lower mind of memory and emotion, because you know the lower mind can compute, but only the higher mind can make a decision about things that it values. And then below that we have the instinct, and then the body. And so the way that we need to be to restore ourselves is to have these properly aligned, so they talk to each other from top to bottom like that, rather than the body or the instincts interfering with these and going up the other way. And some of these qualities are shared by other things. So all objects have a body. All living things have instinct. All animals have memory and emotion. All humans have the ability to value things. But only some of us have truly understood universal compassion. And that is the next stage in our development, is to get in touch with that. And spiritual compassion can only come from a being that has individual consciousness. So too with valuing and memory and emotion to some extent. Impersonal consciousness, beings that have impersonal consciousness, such as animals and other living things, are capable of this field here, which encompasses some extent of memory and emotion, and then instinct and bodily existence. And then everything else, objects, only has the body. So that's actually quite an involved symbol, and very important for us to understand what soul is, how it relates to the other parts of us, and how to properly align all of that. So thank you for the suggestion. I think that that's a good place to finish. Yes, God bless you too, James Embry. Yeah, it is kind of egg-shaped, Sarah. Yeah, it's very, very unusual. Okay, I'm gonna have to leave it there. let me just have one more look here. Okay, that looks like a rage bait comment, so I'm going to ignore that. Okay. Zohar Zen, God bless you, sir. So yes, God bless you too. God bless you all. And I've tried to touch upon some of the core teachings of this book, but it's very comprehensive. It covers a lot of topics, and it's hard to do it justice in this short stream. But in the future, I'm going to be doing study groups on it to explain it more systematically, maybe courses in the future. So that is something that is coming. And in the meantime, if you have bought the book today, when you receive it, happy studying. And I'm very excited about this new chapter in Lifting the Lamp. This is, now we're really getting serious. We're really getting down to business here with the whole purpose of creating a platform like this in the first place. And it couldn't come at a more urgent time, I think. So thank you all. And I will see you around on my channel, in my community, and I look forward to talking with you again. Thank you.